My name is Dr. Nagy Tamás. My only duty is to introduce another colleague and the topic. Cellular hidden inflammation is the topic, and this is meant to be for doctors. And inflammation, in the area of inflammation, we have fantastic opportunities to prevent in primary and secondary prevention. In the last couple of years, there have been several studies regarding inflammation and heart attacks in particular. My doctor colleagues know that 2 out of 10 people with heart attacks have the attack from the blue sky very suddenly without any history. And Jupiter examination and another examination have proved that the most serious risk factor is the inflammation of the internal lining of our veins, and CRP values are not enough to prevent issues, but we have a tool with which we can save lives. And in 2018, the last valid stats say that in Hungary, over 64,000 people died because of cardiovascular complications. And a friend of mine, who is a doctor and who has been running a program called Health Academy, will speak. He is a true healer, and it's a calling for him. He is also involved in product development, research, and discovery. And we have heard some fantastic results, some fantastic lectures from him, and I'm very interested in what he has to say to doctors. Thank you very much for the introduction. It's over to you. Thanks again. The first step is to share my screen. I guess it's done. The reason I'm so happy to share this information with you that I have covered from various aspects in previous lectures. This is inflammation, and we can view it from another aspect now. We can focus on causes, sources of the problem, so that we can be successful in prevention. In the medical community, primary and secondary prevention is in focus, but we actually will focus on primary prevention. When we are faced with risk factors which will cause serious issues, we can add something here which we can call a lifestyle program. Zinzino is a way of life, a way of thinking, and is examining the subject of the common cause of lifestyle diseases. I try to give you a very complex picture in about 50 minutes about Zinzino, the Zinzino concept and inflammation. The first thing I would like to mention is why we should cover lifestyle diseases. As you can see, this is the progress of evolution. which has been going on for hundreds of thousands or millions of years. And we have been developing, our bodies have been developing, and these changes have been necessary to adapt to the environment. In the right side pictogram here, you can see something which is completely unnatural. Right up to that point, for millions of years, we have had ample time to be able to adopt. In the last one to the right, we have not been able to tolerate the changes during the last 50, 60, 70 years. We have experienced an influx in chronic diseases, chronic inflammation. This is our body's response to everyday factors. We can call these diseases, but these are all responses to a very fast change which occurred. Diseases of civilization and harms of civilization, we can trace back to our diet and the drastic changes in our diet. Professor Dr. Paul Clayton's name, who has been involved in pharmaconutrition, and those who are who don't know him, he is a professor of pharmacology, and his research is the foundation of the nutrition-related anomalies and background of such diseases. People who lived 100 years ago and people who live today, and when we make a comparison, it is clear that we are faced with huge deficiencies of essential nutrients. There are some which are completely missing from our present diet, modern diet. And human chemistry is capable of wonderful, solutions, and we can tolerate certain sudden changes, certain problems, but vitamin C deficiency caused a very serious disease a few hundred years ago. Similarly, the deficiencies of other nutrients, vitamins, phytochemicals, phytonutrients, and minerals cause diseases which are just as serious. It's important to state that we have never consumed such little food, but we are so overweight now as we have never been before. Our diet consisted of very different things 100 years ago. 4,000 kilocalories were necessary 100 years ago to cover our needs. Because people walked, rode horses, our environment was very different. It was not so warm in winter. Today, 2,000 kilocalories, which is very little. That's what we consume daily, and this is what is supposed to nurture this average 80-kilogram person to keep him or her in health, and this is impossible, mission impossible. This is an anomaly which is not sustainable. Sometimes we eat only 1/10 of the nutrients we used to eat 100 years ago. This is completely impossible to cover our needs. So it's important to speak not only about carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, the macronutrients. We also need to speak about the deficiencies of the phytonutrients, color agents in fruits and vegetables, which would protect us. 100 years ago, or even later, even earlier, medicine have studied the effects of such agents, but we are absolutely deficient of these today. And modern supplements try to add these back, antioxidants. We know this is a huge family, flavonoids, over 3,000 chemicals belong here, and red and even darker agents have very important molecules which have very important protective effects. Without doubt, our diet has changed. What we can see in this figure, multinational companies and control the food industry, and the products that they manufacture have never contained what we need. So we need to examine the directions our diet needs to take so that we can have more natural foods. And there are such directions. The Hungarian Association of Dietitians and also the Hungarian Academy of Sciences founded or established this smart plate. I don't think many people know about this, but let me be a little bit critical about this. In the last 20 years, nutrition as a science have progressed a lot, but we are still behind even in such a recommendation. What it says, I just mentioned a few things. It's still grain-based, and it says in detail that you need to take grains, but it doesn't say that you need to avoid allergens. And I don't think this is the best direction. And I don't think salt and fats should be considered enemies. Whole milk is it's not defined really. Homogenization is a process which produces some molecules and proteins in milk, which creates allergies, triggers allergies, because we always consume such foods, and it's also included in the recommendation. Although we have progressed a lot, we have a lot of things to do, a lot of work to do in this area to have a diet which is appropriate for people today, which can prevent deficiencies and the illnesses, diseases that these deficiencies create. Our goal is a varied diet, natural diet. We have certain things that we need to strengthen, or if you are diabetic or if you have high cholesterol levels, you have directions about what to avoid, what to include. But we need to think of diet as a very varied selection of foods. In Zinzino, we have a tangible and objective thing called balance test. Balance test is a fatty acid profile analysis, dry blood drop analysis. There is a laboratory in Norway where we send our blood samples, And the result is a quantitative fatty acid table where you can see saturated, monounsaturated, and polyunsaturated fats, how much your blood contains each of them. The WHO recommends certain target values, and then you can see the deviation compared to those values. If we go back to this test report, it's an easy to understand recommendation which comes with the test results. It examines the protection value and the protection of your fatty acid profile, and it also gives you the omega-3 level in your blood. Also, it gives you the omega-6 and omega-3 ratio in your body. And then you can see another a few other parameters. For example, cell membrane fluidity index and mental health index, and how effective, how much arachidonic acid is in your body. And this serves to give you a picture about the risks that you would face. In prevention, we have a tool, and we can call this a diagnostic tool, which can help us take certain steps, and we will speak about taking enough omega-3s and antioxidants. If you take these steps, then omega-6 to 3 ratio will be balanced, and this will prevent inflammation by orders of magnitude. And a lot of complications and diseases of and symptoms of lifestyle diseases can be prevented, and the worsening of these can be prevented. Let me show you some other things. If we look at the common denominator of diseases of civilization, we come to this figure. I would say that that this genetic switch is a key mechanism in inflammation. I think this is a known fact. The problem in today's medicine and therapeutic tools is a limitation, because we cannot really regulate this process. We can use certain enzymes to block certain parts of these processes, and we can try to use medications to influence this to inhibit inflammation, to curb inflammation, mitigate inflammation. But it is our lifestyle and diet which triggers this process. If we have an opportunity, and this is where we need to speak about lifestyle as a holistic approach, and if we keep this switched off in most cases for the longest possible time, then this is handling the root cause of inflammation. The Zinzino concept has a key factor, and we need to talk about the cell membrane. This is a very sensitive system which is composed of proteins, carbohydrates, and of course fatty acids. we know this, and it's also a fact that life happens, occurs, life, metabolism occurs through this membrane. And the health of the membrane will determine the lifespan of the cell. We can say that the health of the membrane will determine how long the cell will live. Can it live to the limits which is genetically encoded, or will it only live to a point where the damage of inflammation will kill it? If the cell membrane, the lipids in this membrane are composed of omega-6 mainly, there is a lot of omega-6, this membrane will be very rigid, fractured. It loses its fluidity. It will become hard, and the basic membrane function, which it is supposed to perform, it can perform only for a much shorter time. And if this membrane, and with cell division, when membrane structures are created, if there is enough omega-3, this membrane will be very resilient. It will be fluid, it will be flexible, and cellular metabolism can work pretty well. These fatty acids unfortunately are completely gone to the direction of saturated fats. Many studies, nutritional studies, have been published that when in the 70s cholesterol was focused on as a possible culprit in cardiovascular problems, and when cholesterol levels and target values were determined, there was a huge change in diet as well 50 years ago. Our diet went to become cholesterol poor diet, and omega-6 was more and more present in the diet. It was easy to do for the food industry because plant oils were preferred and completely replaced animal fat. The consequence of this was an imbalance, a drastic imbalance between omega-6 and omega-3, which should have been 3:1, and in human biochemistry, if these fatty acids as basic building blocks are available, then these enzymes, depending on which one dominates, and in today's diet, it's 25:1 and 50:1, even 100:1 omega-6 to omega-3, then pro-inflammatory processes will be triggered. Our whole metabolism will cause inflammation. Practically, there are two very similar molecules. Omega-6 and omega-3 is pretty similar in structure, but the enzymes try to bind to each of them, and it's a competition. And a lot of omega-6 will push metabolism towards inflammations. If we consume foods that we can see in the picture, if we can change our diet to a positive, so there can be a positive change there. Until such time when we can avoid refined oils and a lot of processed foods, our diet will be pro-inflammatory. We could say that we should consume a lot of raw plant oils. Well, this is a half truth, because these have a lot of nutrients that we need. For example, poppy seed oil is a very rich oil, and this has value. But plant oils are not appropriate to restore omega-3, omega-6 balance, because we can see that they contain a lot of omega-6 compared to how much omega-3 is present in them. Only flaxseed oil would be good to restore the balance. The only problem with flaxseed oil is that it contains alpha-linolenic acid, which needs to be converted by the body into EPA and DHA, which we can use. But this kind of conversion is goes only at 10% efficiency, and we would need to consume an amount of flaxseed oil that would have side effects. In contrast, fish oils, marine fish oils, have a lot of omega-3s in them compared to omega-6 that can restore the omega-6 to omega-3 balance. And thus we have a functional food, a very rich supplement that contains fish oils enriched with plant-based antioxidants, polyphenols. We can restore our balance. Why do we need polyphenols? Fat-soluble polyphenols. This is a very important factor. We know that when produced, fish oils need to be cleansed to get rid of contaminants and certain agents which give too strong taste or smell. So we need to clean these oils, and so it varies how much this cleaning of the fish oil is, to what degree it is done. Balance oil is also cleaned in the most efficient way, which doesn't remove a lot of good stuff. But even in this process, some polyphenols are lost, so we add them back, which creates whole food with very high omega-3 content, as you can see. And this is Zino balance oil. Based on recommendations, which also vary from 500 milligrams to 2,500 milligrams of omega-3 per day. But because we want to balance this level, we need this amount that you can see here. Some people prefer capsules, and it's very hard to consume this amount in capsules. This can be 10 to 12 capsules, which is the equivalent of 10 milliliters of balance oil. So the liquid form is the preferred way. But speaking of capsules, there is a capsule, a soft gel form, which we have, which is Ascent. It contains a polyphenol blend, and in 3 capsules, you can see there is over 1,600 milligrams of omega-3. And 1 capsule per 30 kilograms of body weight is enough. These products can be tested with the balance test. 4 to 6 months are needed. When we test ourselves before consuming the product on day 0, and after 6 months of taking the product daily, we can see how it can be utilized in the human body. In diseases of civilization, another important factor which triggers inflammation also is stress and stress-related neurological and hormonal disorders. This is a very, very complex regulating system. The limbic brain as a source of emotions, and the receiver of impulses from the environment, and stress is created here via this system. Stress reactions will affect the body, and we can mention the name of János Seje, a Hungarian scientist who recognized the importance of this. He said long-term stress will cause a change, a permanent change in our neuroendocrine system, biochemical changes in the long run. Stress as a stimulus is part of everyday life. We wouldn't be able to live without such stimulating factors. But chronic stress can cause and will cause chronic diseases. I know that you are aware of these mechanisms, but in our everyday life, we don't really care much about this. The fact that adrenal glands will produce adrenaline and cortisol as well, and how it changes heart rate and blood pressure, what it causes in the liver, in glucagon, it facilitates glucagon utilization, and the result will be a passive, oppressed digestive system. If vegetative balance can be restored fast, then it's not a problem. But the main problem is that chronic stress will prevent this from happening, and cortisol levels will be high. And this will lead to diseases, as you can see. These are lifestyle-related diseases, lifestyle diseases. That's what we can see in this figure. And this comes from diet and nutritional deficiencies, and it will cause structural and biochemical changes in the immune system, in your heart, in the digestive system, in the neurological system, in the metabolism, the human metabolism as a whole. If we examine the spectrum of medications available today, there is nothing there which can prevent these things from happening. In Asian adaptogen, in Asia, these are called adaptogens, which serve this purpose: ashwagandha, rhodiola, ginseng, schisandra, and so forth. These have been used for about 5,000 years and are a very essential part of therapies used. Adaptation of these organs to high levels of these hormones and many current research has uncovered a lot of mechanisms which adaptogens can produce, and how our system and immune cells react is very interesting, and it confirms Asian practices. Let me share a few thoughts about COVID-19. The stressors which we are exposed to today, and the overstressed Hungarian population, which is not famous for being healthy, a bit depressed population, are faced with new kind of stressors for a year now, and this has caused a serious problem in the hormonal systems and white blood cells and immunity in general. Responses are forced, which create huge challenges in the future. And the most dangerous thing lies in the fact that our immune system is weakened, and adaptive immunity and acquired immunity will be weaker, and there is a huge imbalance there as well. Our purpose should be to help patients acquire healthy immunity, and Zinzino has a part in this as well. So these hormones are the ones which, in the short run and long run, which cause symptoms caused by inflammation and lifestyle diseases. Less known, although very common, is the fatigue of the adrenal cortex, and the lot of abuses, dependencies which characterizes society today can be traced back to adrenal fatigue in many cases. And adaptogens can be used well to stop this. And saffron is such an adaptogen which has been used for thousands of years. And in the last couple of decades, there have been many studies that prove this effect. Better sleep and preventing or treating mental tiredness and fatigue is another thing which saffron can produce. I have already mentioned immunity, and I would like to talk a little bit more about this now. immune homeostasis can work well only if the native and adaptive immune systems work well in tandem, in synergy in our life, each and every day. The stimuli from our environment, and to recognize these are of paramount importance. Native immunity, I'm talking about macrophages and cells which flow in our lymphatic system and which are the first line of defense in immune responses. These are the cells that are very sensitive to stress and diet, and they are famous for this. Furthermore, they need stimuli which are adequate to them, and they can be received via diet, and these are the stimuli which are missing from our environment. To me, this is very important, very significant, and the significance is not less than the discovery of vitamin C. And this is the deficiency of beta glucans in the body. Beta glucans are everywhere in the natural environment. They occur everywhere. These are polysaccharides, molecules which are present in a lot of living organisms, including bacteria, fungi, their cell membranes. And in the generations before us, in their diet, this nutrient was always present. As manufacturing of foods have changed and pesticides started to be used more and more, these molecules disappeared because molds and other fungi disappeared. You know the expression of over sterile. This is our environment today. These foods have nothing like that in them, have never contained such things, beta glucans, for example. Such an environment, because of disinfectants and over cleaning, we are not exposed to beta glucans anymore. And these polysaccharides for millions of years have been part of our daily life, and our body was exposed, and our intake with food was several grams. And I would like to speak about the beta glucans present in baker's yeast. This is part of the cell wall of yeast. And in nature, these molecules are very common. It's there in grains, in bacteria, and certain dietary fibers, mostly of oats. It's a natural cholesterol-reducing substance, but it can do more. 1316 beta glucans, especially those from yeast, are immune modulators. How do they work? This is the most important part. During the millions of years, macrophages developed a beta-glucan receptor on their cell membrane. This receptor is present from fish in evolution from vertebrates. They also have fish also have beta-glucan receptors. If there is such a receptors, it means that we need beta-glucans. If we take beta-glucans, macrophages are activated, which makes us a lot more efficient to recognize pathogens, and this has a very important part in homeostasis. You can see here that as beta-glucans come here, touch here, you can see that it starts a process in the lymphatic vessels, lymphatic glands, and T cells will be produced, and B cells will be produced. So what does the fact that macrophages have beta-glucan receptors mean? It means that we can activate them using beta-glucans. So what kind of studies do we have? Preventing infections, a lot of animal studies, thousands of references on PubMed. If you look up 1316 beta-glucans, fighting infections, there are a lot of human studies. Synergy with antibiotics and vaccines. In order for vaccines, even the one that we are talking about so much today, produce adequate immune response, we need the system to work. The beta-glucan system, I mean. Post-operation infections, anti-allergy effects, and also tumor supplementary tumor therapies combined with MAB. And we are talking about 1316 beta-glucans here. And there are studies currently ongoing in the United States. The mechanism, we can see that the immune response in the cell is that the key is that beta-glucans bind to neutrophils, and it will be adequately activated, and this is what starts the recognition of cells which need to be eliminated, terminated, and beta-glucan can make your system a lot more efficient. Some animal studies that I would like to mention in rats and mice, they were injected with influenza viruses, lethal ones, And those rats which consumed beta-glucans 7 days before they were injected had a much higher survival rate. And this is the same with anthrax. This is also with rats. Post-operative infections and how to prevent them. We know that these infections in hospitals are more and more widespread, which makes life much harder for nurses and especially patients in hospitals. If we take 1-2 milligrams per body weight kilograms of beta-glucans, it can reduce infections significantly, even to 0. We also have other human studies with influenza. If we look at the placebo group, and this is very, it's easy to measure and track. We can say that, for example, the days of school or your job was 0 in those, or fever was 0, where patients took beta-glucans. And also, if we look at people with stress, it can be athletes and soldiers as well who are exposed to a lot of stress. If they took 250 or 500 milligrams of beta-glucans in both subjective and objective evaluations, their symptoms were reduced significantly. With respiratory problems, they said in placebo, respiratory problems were only 5 compared to the placebo group where it was 15. And also subjective tests where health points were used. People spoke about much better results, reported much better results. So I would like to show you another product, which is called Protect Plus. This is its sole purpose, to function as an immune modulator. And strongly connected to this is Xtend, is another product, because immune cell activation needs, and in order to maintain immune homeostasis, we need a lot of known and less known vitamins, minerals, and other micronutrients. Xtend is a formula which contains beta-glucans, in addition to a lot of essential trace minerals, micronutrients, which are needed, which play a role in these immune processes. Xtend is, I don't like to use this word, but it's a multi product which can boost our immune system as well. The same is true for Xtend Plus, and a very important part of the Zinzino concept is using or producing all natural products. Zinzino has been focusing more and more on using all natural ingredients and excipients, and where you can see this plus sign, Viva Plus, Xtend Plus, and Protect Plus. These products meet the all natural requirement. in the last few minutes, I would like to dedicate these minutes to an important topic. This is the digestive system as such. I could say that I could have started with this. It's true. This is where everything is determined. This is where beta glucans are recognized, and this is where this is the part in our body which stress destroys, and the normal digestion process needs these organs to be in balance and to be healthy. A lot of drugs, a lot of food products, which I wouldn't call foods, these inhibit or completely stop these processes from working, and this creates problems with your pancreas, with your gallbladder, with enzymatic processes, and the food choices, the foods that we eat together, this creates a huge overload on the system, and the product is a lot of undigested particles, proteins, carbs, and these bind to each other, and with fats, and these are deadly. These are deadly for the immune system, and these are foreign things that your immune system recognizes as foreign things, which triggers inflammation. In many cases, it's just it's temporary, but for many, it creates a permanent problem. We don't talk enough about a leaky gut and all the consequences of this, which leads to autoimmune diseases. These start with the digestive system in your bladder and the other parts of the intestinal system. We are also aware that the health of our digestive system and our psychological health is intimately connected. This is a very familiar concept now. The microbiome, which is in the gut, its composition and health will dramatically influence with how healthy we are psychologically, and also how much inflammation exists in our body. You can see very characteristic features in certain diseases, such as diabetes, or the microbiome mirrors your diseases. And this system will change according to what happens in your nervous system. And we are talking about the inhibition of the production of serotonin, for example, and your gut would produce serotonin, which should get into your bloodstream and to all your cells. If there is a disruption in this process, then there is a problem. But we can also speak about bacterial molecules such as GABA and 5-HT precursors. If everything works as it should, then it has a protective mechanism. It can produce vitamin K. Vitamin K2 has been focused on recently, and this is no coincidence because vitamin K, folates, we are not produced when processes in the digestive system are disrupted. Certain minerals cannot be absorbed, like magnesium, and we know that it's a matter of ratios. In medicine, we recommend and prescribe probiotics, but do we know which strain is needed, or should we just change the ratio of the strains a little bit, and this depends on what kind of prebiotic stimuli are experienced in the gut. And we can use high quality prebiotic foods. We know that all the populations on Earth have used such foods. We can use them, or we can use a very complex dietary fiber blend. These are prebiotic fibers, which is xenobiotic, another product, and this can support your gut in all its length. I wouldn't say that we can solve all digestive problems. There are contraindications in some cases, and before the most serious problems develop, we can use dietary therapies. Xenobiotic can be part of a regenerative diet where it can play a key role. And there is another one, lean shake, is food which contains everything that I have covered: fibers, vitamins, minerals, high quality bean and oat protein. And it's a functional food. Sorry, not bean, pea protein. So thank you for listening to me, and I'm happy to have been able to underline how important prevention is, and this we can measure biochemical results. We have certain tools which support prevention of inflammations, and we can cover almost all the problems that we face today: cellular inflammation, cellular cell membrane health, and stress, and the gut flora support, beta glucans, which are present in Protect Plus and Extend. This is a truly ingenious system. This can be valuable in primary and secondary prevention, because our modern diet can be supplemented, but I need to stress that this is supplement, These are supplements. Your foods that you eat are very important. I like to quote the thoughts from the Dalai Lama. And when he was asked, what is the most surprising about humanity? Man itself, the way people think, the way people live, because they sacrifice their health to earn money, and then sacrifices their money to get their health back. And the result is that people don't live in the present, not in the past. People live as if they wouldn't die, and then they die as if they wouldn't have lived. I always close my lectures with this quote, because prevention is about what you can do now, today. What you can do tomorrow, we don't know. And also you cannot change the past. Thank you for your attention, and I hope that it has been valuable to you. And I really want to thank all my colleagues in healthcare who face such challenges today. I wish you good health, everybody, and goodbye.